If you have not actually met me, my name is Shauna Naf, and I'm the CEO of the Lonas Group. And Denise and I created this new version of this product. This is actually based on
Esther Drexman.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
This is based on Denise's long-running theory of really how to measure supply and demand in a real estate market. And so the cornerstone of the system is definitely the listing depending ratios sheet. However, there are a lot of great other supplementary materials in this new product as well. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to show you a few of the different pieces that are in the pricing system. We will be covering the listing depending ratios because that seems to be the one piece that people have got the most questions about. Good morning.
Hi.
And then as we go along here, if you do have questions, please feel free to pipe up and ask. Sometimes I do go a little fast, and so I will go real nice and slow. And if you need me to repeat something, I'm more than happy to do so. And then we're going to have a Q&A session at the end too. So if you've got any other questions in theory or questions about the theory or the actual, how to use the Excel or the publisher, I will be going through that step by step again. In the meantime, if you are on and you can mute your phone, that would be fantastic, please. And you can either just just go ahead and mute on your phone, or you can hit star, I'm not sure if it's star 6 on this line or not. But Denise, if you are on, Denise is also on the line, and she will be available to answer questions too about theory and maybe how it actually works in your particular market. Because some people too have got questions about, is this market too small to measure? Should I be looking at a larger area? So please feel free to ask us all your questions. And you can either ask the questions just live, or you can go ahead and use the interface here on the freeconference.com, or you can actually email me at shauna@thelonasgroup.com. That's SHAUNA @thelonasgroup.com. So let me start at the beginning. So I think people when they receive the pricing system get this big manual, they get all these CDs, and it can become a little bit overwhelming, and people may not know exactly where to start. So my advice is, one, just take it nice and slow, go through the manual, read the manual. It goes along with 3 of those audio CDs. So if you haven't done that yet, just follow along in the manual, pop in the CDs, listen to the material, and then when you get to the end, just stop for a few minutes and just say, what pieces in here were the most important or the most relevant possibly in my market? Because you should really just focus on incorporating one thing into your business at a time. If you look at the whole thing and say, I need to do it all, this is exactly what I want to do, I want to do all these pieces for each and every listing, that's not really realistic. And
Denise.
I just want to make sure that we just want to make sure that you take it nice and slow, just find the one thing and master that one thing. And, the listing depending ratios may not be that first thing you start with. Perhaps more like the absorption, or perhaps it's days on market, or the price per square foot comparison. There's a couple people that work in areas where, price per square foot doesn't have a lot of relevance, but in some places it certainly does. So find the piece that's got the most relevance, master that piece, and then you can include more pieces as you go along. So let's start with how to access the file. So I'm assuming at this point you've all installed gone through the little setup piece, gotten the files installed, and once you do that, you'll have 2 places where you can access the files. The system will create a little folder on your desktop. It's a shortcut to all the materials. When you open that up, you will see that these are shortcuts to places. It actually is installed on your C drive, but this is the shortcut to get to all the files. So what we have in here are all of your Excel files, which go down to, it's got the underscore in front of it. And then you have your publisher files. And you can go ahead and open up the files this way, or if you prefer, you can open up the files by going down to your Start menu, go into All Programs, and the pricing system is actually installed right on your Start menu as well. But only the publisher files are available through this part of the interface here. So if you want to access the Excel file without opening a publisher file, you will need to go through the icon on your desktop. Is everybody with me so far?
So far, so good.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just open up my pricing system folder here. And I'm going to start with absorption rate because this is a pretty easy file to start with. So in order to open it, you just double-click it the way you normally would for opening a file. And you'll see that you have a little data box that comes up that says, hey, this contains a link to an additional outside source. This file and many of the other files that are in your pricing system are linked to external Excel files. And the Excel files are in that other folder. So I would, in this case, we just go ahead and yes, we want to update the links. And let me show you, go back to the folder and show you what I mean by that. Okay, so back in my folder, I have the absorptionrate.pub, which is the publisher file. And then up here, I have the corresponding absorption rate Excel file. Those two files are linked together. So anytime you want to just open the Excel file and do your edits in there and then just save it, the next time you open your publisher file, it'll say, do you want to update that link? And just say yes, because then the two are linked and it'll just update automatically. So once you're in your file here, you'll see that we've got this kind of curly font. You may or may not want to use these fonts. You can change anything on these documents that you like. So if, let's say, this font didn't appeal to you, it's pretty easy. You just go up to the top here and change it to something that works a little bit better for you. So that might...
Webinars don't always come over the computer, huh?
Say that again?
Usually you have to use the phone and the computer.
Can I get you guys to mute, please, if you're asking questions to somebody else in your office? Thank you, thank you. So in this case, I've just changed it to Garamond, and I can actually change the size if I'd like as well. Like in this case, I just changed it to 36. It's really easy to do that. You can change the color of the font. So in this case, I indicate through all the files if there is something that you need to edit, it's in pink. So in this case, let's change this to May 2013. And you can change the neighborhood to something in your area. So like, let's just call this Columbia neighborhood. And then you can change all that to black. Each of these pieces is also set up in a text box, and so you can actually move these however you'd like. So if you usually like to have things on the left side of the page, you can just move that over there. You can change the text to align, not to the right, but to the left, or even centered. So there's just a lot of different things that you can do to make this piece your own. And that's really what I'm encouraging you to do, is really get in here, change the things, make it look like it's your stuff, and that's perfect. That's what we want. Okay. I also want to show you how to work on the master page, and I know this is just covering basic publisher things, but I think it's probably pretty relevant. To get to the master page, which contains the design elements that are on the top here, you just hit Control-M, and then you can actually delete these and put your own stuff in as you like. This is looking pretty bare at this point, but that's okay. Okay, so now you've got the basics on how you can change the design of this document. Now let's talk about how to change the functionality of this document. You'll see on each of the files, I have directions in here for what you need to change to get this piece ready to go. Once you are ready to edit the data, all you need to do to open this is just double-click on it, and Excel opens automatically. So now this document is ready for you to edit. So let's say I've gone into the MLS now and I have all my information that I want to input here. And let's just say I've got, let's say 50 listings and 10 sold. It'll automatically update my absorption rate and my month supply for each one of those price ranges. Let's say I've got 25 and 3 and 15 and 7. And this is fine for now. You guys get the idea. It'll go ahead and just round up for this. you can, in here too, change the font. Let's say I wanted to change that to Garamond. You can have the entire piece looking more like how you'd want that to look.
Excuse me, Shauna.
Absolutely, yes.
Shauna, what does
Yes.
the month of supply mean?
The month supply means the number of months it should take to get through the current number of listings. So in this case, if I have 50 listings and I have 10 sold, it's saying it's going to take me 5 months to get through that supply of listings.
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Shauna, I just want to add.
Please.
I just want to add something. On this particular document, you'll notice that under the month of supply column, you go down to the second price point, 100 to 149. It says there's 25 listings and there's 3 sold. Well, if you divide 25 by 3, you get an exact number of 8.33. The reason that the month of supply bumps up to the next most even month, we round it up to the nearest month, is because we always know that new listings will be coming on. So that's why we don't round down. We always know new listings come on, so we take it to the closest point that we can. To be exactly accurate, you would say we have 8.33 months of supply. To be general, you're going to round it up to the next number, which is 9. That's why there's the difference between the 833 and the 9.
Thank you. So once you're done editing all of this, you're just going to go ahead and save, and you can just hit the save button up here at the top. It'll say that I might have a minor loss of fidelity, and what this means is that this file is saved as a 1997 to 2003 Excel file, which is fine. We don't want to have it be a later version, which is the XLSX type of file, because the linking doesn't quite work the same way. So we need to keep it as the Excel 1997 to 2003. So just go ahead and hit continue, and then once you're done, you just close it. But now you'll see how that just updated automatically within Publisher. Now, in some versions of Publisher, you might have. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I have an echo. My apologies. In some versions of Publisher, you may have to double-click and open the file again and save it to get it to update in there. So any questions on how to work with this particular file at this point? Excellent. Okay, let's go ahead and close this one. And let's move on. I don't want to save this. Let's go ahead and open the days on market chart. Excuse me. Again, it's going to ask me if I want to update the links. I'm going to say yes. And then I would take note of the things that I need to adjust in here before I get started. So in this case, I need to put the correct area up at the top and the correct date range. And then once I'm ready to go ahead and edit this information, I'm going to go ahead and double-click and open this document in Excel. Okay, so in here I've got a set of months in the one column, and then I've got a blank days on market in the other column. So let's just go ahead and put some random days on market in here just to kind of get it going here. And it's just going to start to create. Actually, let's do it a little lower. 45. And you can see that this is going down. And it'll just keep adding and adding the columns in here. We've also made it so that the dates actually, or the numbers actually show up on here as you go along, so that way you can see, you have the numeric equivalent of what the graphics are showing.
So, Shauna, are you going to talk at all about how you're gathering the data, the numbers themselves?
This is all available in your MLS. And I know we have a couple of different MLSs represented in here. Not everybody is on, the majority of the people on this call are on the Northwest MLS, but we do have some other MLSs represented here. So it really is dependent on how your MLS is set up.
So for this one, you're saying for March 11th, you have you've captured the number of days on the market for a particular area that you're looking at.
Absolutely.
Or price range or something.
Yes, or a type of property. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So
Okay.
I'm assuming at this point that I've already gathered the data.
Okay. Thank you.
Great question. Okay. Now let's say I get down to the bottom here, and I'm just going to copy some of these and just to have 22, 55, and 23. Okay. Just to have a couple different things in here. And let's say I'm down here now, and now it is now May. And you'll see that when I type that in, it automatically gave me another space to work with. This blue line around this represents the area that the graph is looking at. So if you needed to add more lines, you can just click on this square down here and drag that down. And as you add, let's say this is October 2013, as you add more dates in here, it'll just go ahead, the graph will expand to however big you need it to be. Did you guys catch that?
Yeah.
All good?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Go back to my graph here, and it just pops right in. Very easy. And I did include the directions on here as well on how to adjust the graph to with the blue line around the cells, so that way you're grabbing the correct information on the graph. Okay. Let's see. Oh, I did want to point something out here. Let's actually going back to your question. Let's say this is for one particular area. Let's say this is for Columbia again, and that's just a neighborhood in Bellingham. And let's say I want to create a second graph because I have a different neighborhood that I want to look at. All I would do is say File, Save As. And let's say I want to create a new graph for downtown. Okay. Now the trick is that I have to create a new corresponding Excel file for that as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the Days on Market sheet. I'm going to do a File Save As for that as well. So I'm going to name this Days on Market Downtown. Okay, and now I need to create a new link between the two documents because these two files are not linked at this point. To create a new link is really easy. Let's go back to my publisher file. I'm going to actually delete the graph, and I just clicked on that and hit the delete key on my keyboard. I'm going to go back to my Excel file. I'm going to click on the graph, right click and say copy. Go back to Publisher, and then in this little paste button up here, this is actually two separate buttons. One is just paste, and then this little down arrow gives me additional paste options, and I'm going to choose Paste Special. Then I choose Paste Link, hit OK, and now I have that new graph in here as well. So I just kind of line it up the way I had it in here. Make it a little bit bigger, center it, and now I've got a new graph. And you can do that with any of those documents. Just create a new one, name it for your neighborhood or your price range or your area or whatever you want to track, but then you just need to create a new link between the two documents. But you got to make sure that you do link those two documents because otherwise it'll remember the link to the old document, which is not what you want. Now, I know that was kind of complex, so are there any questions regarding that?
Shauna, would you mind just going over it once more?
Absolutely. Okay. So let's create even a new one now. So I've already got my Days on Market Downtown. Let's do a File Save As. Yes?
Hello?
Yes.
I came in late, and I have to admit I'm just totally frustrated trying to go through and find the chart that you're working on.
This is days on market right now.
Is there a page?
This is I'm working on the days on market chart right now, but are you working, are you linked into the webinar?
I am, and I just made my way in, and I'm looking in my book, my manual, and I've got pages turned, but, rather than flip through everything, what page number is this chart so I can make notes on it?
I actually don't know that information off the top of my head, but we are working on the days on market chart, which is in your...
Right.
Is
anyone else looking in their manual, and is there a page number?
I would, and I'm also recording this as well, so you can always reference this again as we go along. But
okay, so no one has a page number from the manual?
I don't think we're working from the manual.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thanks. And we'll send you guys out the link, too, after this is done, so that way you can reference this again. Okay, so let's say
Perfect.
that this
Thank
is
you.
now... You're welcome. Now we're going to track for Fairhaven. So I'm going to create a new publisher file that says Days on Market Fairhaven. And now I need to create a new Excel file as well that says File, Save As, and we're going to do a Days on Market Excel file for Fairhaven. So now I've got both an Excel file and a publisher file. And now I need to create a link, so I'm going to go back to my publisher file. I'm going to delete the one that's now linked to the downtown one because I don't want that one at all. I want the Fairhaven one. So go back to my Excel file. It's now the Days on Market Fairhaven. Click on the chart. Right-click and select Copy. I'm going to go back to my publisher file. Go to my paste, the little down arrow next to paste, and say Paste Special. Choose Paste Link, and hit OK. And then just resize as you need.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. All right.
So, Shauna, why are you reusing the same graph if it's for a different area? Won't the numbers be different?
The numbers will be different, yes. And I'm assuming that I would go back in at this point and put the correct numbers in. I'm just showing you how to create multiple.
So I don't get why you copied the graph.
Because otherwise, if I don't have, at this point, I'm assuming I would have different numbers that I would put in here. Like I'm basically starting over. Because I don't want to use this first set of data because that's for another neighborhood. I don't want to use the second set of data because that's for another neighborhood. But now I've got a new linked graph, and now I'm starting fresh with a new graph, and I can go in now and put in my data for that neighborhood. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Never mind.
Okay.
It's okay.
Well, let's say I've got like Seattle, okay? So let's say I've already created a chart for Seattle, and I say, wow, this is a really cool chart. I think I want to do this for Bellevue. And so then what I would just do is save another publisher file for Bellevue, save another Days on Market chart for Bellevue, and I know I'm not going to use the same information for Bellevue, but I just want to create that graph. And now that I've got a clean graph, I can go in there and say, okay, so let's assume this is Bellevue. For Bellevue, my Days on Market for March 2011 was 52.
I got it. It's the graph format that you've copied over.
Correct. Yes,
That's the point of it. That's the point of it, right? Okay. Thank you. I got it.
You're welcome. Perfect. All right.
This is Patrice, by the way, so you know who's bugging you.
What's that?
This is Patrice Lewis, so you know who's bugging you.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. I've got a couple other questions. Okay, I do have a couple questions emailed, and
Shauna?
I just want to address them real quick. Yes.
Shauna, it's Rayanne.
Hi, Rayanne.
So then I know, this is perfect from our conversation yesterday.
It is.
So, I know. So what I'm hearing you say then is you create a a file in Publisher, you create the same file in Excel or call it the same thing. Then what you could do is you link them then before you even start.
Yes, certainly.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
You can
and
do
then
it that way. Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. I mean, that'd be the easier thing. And so then once I've got them linked, then what I do is I start it. So then I open up Publisher and double click that, and it'll go right into Excel automatically.
Correct. Into the correct one that you want to work
into
on.
Correct one. Okay. So then how do I get back when I'm in that Excel? How do I get back then to Publisher?
Really easy. So let me go ahead and let's say I've got like 3 sets of data in here, okay? You just hit this, you just save your Excel file. You close your Excel file. And then that updates. It updates.
Okay, so then just save it like you would normally save it, close it like you normally close it, and then voila, it's back in the Publisher deal.
That is correct.
Okay. Well, this is so perfect. All right. Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay. I do have a couple questions emailed in, so I want to address those really quickly. Somebody had asked, how can you open your Disk4 forms on a Mac? Unfortunately, Publisher does not work on a Mac. So Publisher, the Mac version of this would be Pages, which is a part of the iWorks tool thing. So unfortunately, you can't open that, but you can open the Excel files in Numbers. So hopefully that will help. And then the other question was, can I use the most recent version of Publisher for the pricing system? That would be Publisher 2013, and you should have no compatibility problems whatsoever.
Okay, thank you. Those were my questions.
All right. Okay. So the last piece I want to cover in here, and then I'm going to open it up for questions, would be the listing to pending ratios document, because I know this one's got it's the biggest Excel file. You get the most questions around it. So let's go ahead and open that up. And when I hit yes on this one, that I want to update the links, it might take a minute because there are actually 13 different links in this particular document. And what we've done is we've made a chart for each price point, logical price points for most areas. So we've got 0 to 100,000, and then it goes up in $100,000 increments until it gets to a little bit larger. And so that it does take. You can see here, it's going to update each piece individually, and then we'll open the Excel document and take a look. It is, I do have a specific page in the manual that addresses ratios and how to use this document and how to not get the data from the MLS specifically, but the theory around it, because each MLS, again, works a little bit differently in how it gathers this information. Some MLSs do update the data on a regular basis and it's live. Some don't let you go backwards and grab the number of listings on a particular day. So it's a little bit, you need to kind of look at your MLS, read through the theory, look at your MLS, and figure out how are you going to get this data out of the MLS. And we will be touching on that in just a second here, but I want to show you the functionality of this piece first. So you'll see in here that when I open this up, I've got the explanation here in the red on the pasteboard about where to look for the information in the document, and then how to edit this piece again. So I've got the area, I've got the date range, and then you can see here on the left all the different pages. So it goes all the way up to, if I click on page 13 here, I've got over 1 million here. So, and you can see here, as I'm clicking through them, I've got like here's 701 to 800, 401 to 500. So very big document. But let's go ahead and just use the 0 to 100,000 just to get started with. And to open this up, I just go ahead and double click on it. And let me close out my days on market chart. Okay. So this Excel document has got a lot of different tabs on the bottom. And I hope you can see my tabs here. I'll move that up a little bit. To move through your tabs on the bottom, you can use these arrows down here at the bottom left. If you just click on the one that just looks like a little play button. You can just click through and move through one by one. Or if you click on the arrows at either end, that'll get you all the way back to the beginning. The Goals tab on this document. Can I get you guys to mute, please, if you're not asking a question, please? I'm getting a lot of noise. Thank you so much. The Goals tabs at the bottom represent the different months. So this chart is showing you the trend of listings and pendings over the course of a year. What it's doing is every time you go into a different month and input the data for each price point, it's going to take that data and put it in this red document, auto-populate for graphing. And so it's got all of the information in here that then populates the graphs. I tell you this because it's important to not add different rows or columns within this because it won't grab the correct information and dump it on the graphs. I had a couple people at this point that have, like, if you just add like a row up at the top that says, I don't know, a different area or date range or things like that, if you add any of that data, it's going to not grab that correct information. You'll be off a row. So it's really important to not play around with that too much. Okay. So I'm just going to talk about the functionality of the listing to pendings, and then we're going to go back and talk about the actual data part of this and how to grab that data. So let's say I go into the MLS. This is now January, the first week of January, and I know that I've got, let's say I've got 25 listings. And for that week, we also had 5 pendings. So as I'm putting that information in, the 25 listings and 5 pendings, it's telling me that I've got a sales ratio of 20%, basically meaning that 20% of your inventory has been kind of taken off the market because you're not likely to sell that multiple times. I mean, you could, but we can get into that in a little bit. But for the most part, it's just of the 25 homes that were available, 5 of them were demanded. And so you go along each week, and you just put in that data. And it is really important to track it week by week because, as I said, some MLSs don't let you go back and retroactively grab the correct updated data. And the sales ratio column will update, the colors will update automatically depending on where the sales ratio falls. And in the pricing system, you will note that a buyer's market is designated by a sales ratio that's 0 to 45%, a balance is 45 to 55%, and a seller's market is 55 to 100%. The green designates a buyer's market, yellow designates a balanced market, and red designates a seller's market. So let me show you real quick what that looks like. So if I had, let's say I had 50 listings and 30 pendings, I'd have a sales ratio of 60%, which is a seller's market. If I had 50 and 25, that would be a balanced market, which would be 50%. So as you go along week by week, you're just going to put in your information, and you'll see that your graph is going to start to grow. So let me go ahead and skip now to the graphs. And as I go back up to the 0 to 100,000, you'll see that my lines start to grow here. So the number of listings that I have is designated by the blue line. The number of pendings I have is designated by the green line. And as those numbers are close together, that represents a strong seller's market. As they get further apart, that designates a buyer's market. So let me stop right here and ask for questions. And I'll check my email here. I don't have any email questions in yet. So is everybody with me on where I am so far? Okay. So let's say now I'm going to go back to my publisher file. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And then I go back to my publisher file.
Shauna, there's questions for you in discussion.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Thank you. Okay, Nina, I found that negative numbers don't calculate. Like I have 0 listings but 3 pendings. Okay, let me discuss that real quick. You would have that situation possibly if prices have been reduced. So let's say I had, let's just say I have in here. Let's do that scenario. Let's say I started with 3. Yeah. So it'll still show up as I'm sorry, the other way. You're right. It doesn't calculate. It would actually be a 0%. That situation might happen if you had, let's say I had things that were in a higher price range when they were listings, but then they have dropped down in price ranges, and that's why they're showing up as a pending in a different price category. So let's say I had something that was listed for $103,000, but I didn't move it to another category before it went pending, and let's say they reduced the price to $99,000, which then would bring it down in a price bracket. That if you had 3 properties that did that and you didn't move the listings down, then that's the possibility of how that could happen. That's kind of a complex concept. Does that make sense? Okay. But yes, that would be correct. In that case, Nina, you might need to override your system here, and you just type in 0. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit save, continue, and as I close, I go back to Publisher, and you see my graph updated right in there. Okay, so now let's open it up for questions regarding the theory behind the listings and pendings and what numbers you grab and how. I know that there are some questions out there regarding this. Like, how do you even get started, perhaps? Has anybody worked with this graph yet and had that question or had other questions?
I haven't worked with the graph yet, but I am a little bit puzzled about how you decide what the actual pending numbers are, because we've got so many different types of pending.
Mm-hmm.
And with our MLS in Washington State, it seems that if you just hit pending, you don't get everything. I mean,
right.
If you just select pending, to get the numbers for that. So, like if it's pending inspection or pending short sale or something. So what would be the best way, would you suggest, to get a good number?
So when we do this, what we're looking for are new pendings for that week. And you're absolutely right. And in our MLS, and I know in a few other MLSs as well, the challenge can be trying to determine when exactly did that new pending happen, because you're right. You could be pending inspection, you could be pending, backup request. I mean, there's just so many different pending categories. And so what we recommend you do, and there is a little bit of work involved in this, but you have to go into, sometimes when you have a pending, you need to go look at the history. And you need to determine, is this actually a new pending for this week, or is this something that's just moved from one pending category to another? But it is important to only track new pendings for that week. Another thing that you may need to look at too, if you do have a new pending and it's not also represented as a new listing because it's already changed categories, you need to make sure that it's also been represented as a listing. And Nina, that could also be one of the challenges with your situation, in that you could have things that have pended so quickly that they're maybe not being represented as listings as well.
I've got a quick question. So when we have a pending short sale,
mm-hmm.
do you even track that?
You can choose to track short sales or not, but it's one of those things where you need to either do it or not do it.
Okay. And then when do you track? Okay, so as soon as it's pending inspection, we don't track that, but as soon as it hits pending, then we're tracking that. Correct?
No. You as soon as it's pending any status, you should track it, because the likelihood of somebody continuing to try to sell that home after that point is, it's basically like off the market. It's been demanded. So it should come out of your category. Any pending category should be out of your pool of available homes.
Okay, got it. Got it. That makes it easier.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just out of there. And the thing is too is that you may need to look at your areas and determine what's going to show me a good trend. And I mean, we've got a couple clients who had been tracking neighborhoods that were so small that it was really difficult to spot a trend because you may only have, one or two listings in all of your price ranges. So you might need to spread out a little bit into a logical area. And you want to find, homes or areas that probably have at least, 5 or more listings at any one time, so you can really start to see what is being demanded. Any other questions regarding this? All right. I'd like to open it up for questions about anything in the pricing system. Okay. Well, if you do have questions and something comes up, please feel free to let us know. I will be checking. Hang on, let me check my email one more time to make sure nothing else got emailed in, and I think we're good to go. Thank you all for joining. Go ahead.
Wait. It's Nina. I've had to think about it for a second. Hi. So I know I'm slow, but I'm coming along in the back end here.
Awesome.
These three charts, the absorption, the days on market, and the listings to pending ratios, for someone like me who is fairly new and looking to add the next component to layer on my business, are these the three charts that I should be looking to be a master of? And when I do understand and learn how to collect the information correctly, these are the three that I'm really going to actually use as leverage with my clients.
I actually only selected these three because I thought it gave a good range of questions that might come up in other documents. So this is not by any means our prescription for what you should be getting started with. I do think it's probably worthwhile to have you gone through and listened to the CDs and read through the manual again?
Yes, actually.
Okay.
So I've done it 3 or 4 times now. So
good job.
But the issue that I have is something that the previous caller was talking about is I'm confused when I go into the MLS of where I should be gathering the information. Should I be using that tab that says statistics and having it pull, or do I go to the general search page, put in the date, the range of date that I want, say last week, and then search all the pending? As you said, decide if I'm going to do short sales, always include them, or am I just using the straight pending? Do I use the pending backup, the pending feasibility, the pending short sale? So this is where I don't understand how to gather the information. So I hear everything you're saying. I can input things into the charts, and I have done it, and they make beautiful graphs and all of that, but I'm not clear to myself if I'm actually gathering the information correctly.
Got it. Okay. So if I were you, here's what I would be doing. I would first start off the month or whenever you're going to do it with determining what is your current pool of listings. And that you are going to probably need to look at a couple different areas. You probably need to spend probably an hour just determining, let me start with one area and start pulling these stats and figure out my system for doing it.
Okay.
So then that could be, let's say Mill Creek, okay? So you may want to go into Mill Creek or whatever the closest area is that your MLS will allow you to search for. So you may need to create your own special search. Determine how many listings you've got. Okay? So and determine what day of the week are you going to pull these?
I'd like to do it Monday because that's when I usually do all of my follow-up and office work and I'm sitting, that's the day I've designated.
Okay. So then next Monday, what you should do is determine what that pool is, all your listings, okay? And that's going to be your first week of listings. And then you're not going to worry about pulling pendings right now, but the following week what you're going to do is say, okay, let me figure out how many new listings am I adding this week? How many new things have come on the market? And then let me see how many pendings I've got. Any pending category. Just take a look at any pendings, right? Any pendings that happened during that week. And then you're going to go into the pendings and you're going to look and see, okay, is this truly a new pending for this week? Is this, and it could be that something's gone from pending inspection or whatever to pending or, within the same week. But what has truly gone from active to a pending status this week? And that should be your number of pendings. And then for the following week, you're going to say, okay, well, now I know, I had my pool of, let's say it was 20 listings. I had 20 listings. I added 5 more listings because 5 new actives came on the market. So now I've got 25. But from that, I see that I had 6 pendings. So my new listing number for the following week is going to be 19. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. And so then you're just going to have to start going along there and creating, looking at and creating a history of what that looks like week to week. And I think actually if you just start doing it, it'll make sense. And so you cannot do this just from the stats. This actually needs to be, a search where you're going in and you're determining, you're going to have to look at the property history. This is not just a simple, here are my numbers and you roll with it. You've got to actually do some investigative work on this.
Okay. All right, that makes more sense.
All right.
Okay, cool. All right, I give it a shot.
All right. Any other questions?
Shauna, as we work with this, and I'm in the same situation as Nina. I'm struggling to figure out how to get the numbers. Can we get help? Like if we get really stuck and we just can't figure something out, is there a help number?
That's a good question. Why don't you just try to just ask me the question as it comes up, and I can tell you whether it's something I can answer or not. Because there are some things that we can and cannot answer because we're actually not MLS trainers. So there may be, but if it's more of a theory type of question, we can answer that. Hopefully that helps.
Okay, so we could use the MLS help people perhaps to help us get accurate numbers.
I would advise you. I would say that is a great option.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad you clarified that. That's very helpful, actually.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, team, are there any other questions that I can answer for anybody? Well, I really want to thank you all for joining us today. This has been a great call. It was wonderful to hear your questions and your input. And I will be recording this, or this has been recorded, so we will make this available to you all as well. So you can always reference it back. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Shauna.
Thank you.
Denise. Great day.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Bye-bye.
We really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you. Very helpful.
Our pleasure.
All right.
Bye, guys.